The blade's radiance was closing in, but with a deafening roar, Wong Lin's body was suddenly hurled far away. Using the momentum, he wasted no time and leaped away, vanishing in an instant. The power of the crescent blade's edge was no weaker than the full-force strike of a cultivator at the late infant metamorphosis stage, and without the billion soul banner, Wong Lin stood no chance. His speed was incredibly fast as he sped away, not retracing his steps but heading in the opposite direction, cutting straight through the vast basin toward its depths. From the crescent blade came waves of divine sense, causing the treasured swords scattered across the ground to immediately hum in unison. One by one, they shot into the air, relentlessly chasing after Wong Lin. Wong Lin moved at breakneck speed, darting through basin after basin, with countless treasured swords in pursuit. The crescent blade behind him occasionally flickered with sword light, howling as it came closer. The immortal sword had long been put away by Wong Lin, and he unleashed his full speed, hurtling forward. Ahead of him, one treasured sword after another shot from the basin, forming a pincer attack from the north and south, aiming to strike through the air toward Wong Lin. His eyes flashed, and with a swift motion of his right hand, he grasped at the empty air. Instantly, the billion soul banner appeared in his hand. With a flick of the banner, it enveloped his body, transforming into a swirl of black smoke, flickering erratically as his speed surged multiple times. The oncoming swords missed their target, quickly adjusting their course and chasing him relentlessly. Behind Wong Lin, a vast expanse of swords gathered in a dense mass, the overwhelming sword light howling across the sky. The chill emanating from the swords lowered the surrounding temperature, even causing frost to appear. The only sound in the air was the deafening hum of the swords, their ringing shaking the heavens and the earth, resounding across the 9 provinces as if the very sky were about to collapse, and the ground trembling beneath the force. The spectacle was so immense that all cultivators within a radius of several 100,000 miles instantly sensed the commotion. Many of them staggered and flew toward the swords to witness it firsthand. The swords, the ringing blades, and the cold light combined to form the image of ancient sword immortals. Sword chi whirled, each blade flashing by Wong Lin's body in a frenzy. Wong Lin's body, wrapped in the soul banner, flickered like smoke as he twisted through the air. Despite this, numerous sword lights still struck at him, only to be blocked by the soul banner. Only when the crescent blade's edge closed in did Wong Lin draw his immortal sword to block. The flight was intense, and Wong Lin couldn't help but recall the time when he was weak, hunted by others, and being chased like this. Suddenly, 2 streaks of rainbow-colored light appeared ahead of Wong Lin, rapidly approaching. But before they reached him, the 2 streaks abruptly halted, evidently sensing something strange ahead. They quickly reversed direction and fled. Wong Lin laughed loudly, turning to look back at the vast swarm of swords chasing him, especially the bizarrely flashing crescent blade among them. His body flickered, and he immediately teleported, appearing thousands of miles away in the blink of an eye. However, as soon as he appeared, the relentless swords behind him flickered and broke through space, chasing him once more. The thunderous sound of the swords tearing through space spread across the land, carrying the ominous aura of the star cultivation crystals earlier shattering, with the world seemingly on the verge of collapse. The 2 rainbow streaks hurried forward, and Wong Lin instantly recognized the 2 figures within. One was a man, and the other a woman. The man, with distinct ears, was recognized by Wong Lin as Xu Liguo. As for the woman, draped in purple veils, Wong Lin's eyes flashed, and he immediately identified her. "Brother Xu, don't leave, wait for me." Wong Lin, though pursued by countless swords, remained calm, laughing heartily. Xu Liguo's expression turned grim, muttering, "What bad luck." He pretended not to hear Wong Lin's call and increased his speed. The woman in the purple veil, upon seeing Wong Lin, revealed a trace of fear in her eyes. With a clenched jaw, she immediately fled. Thus, Xu Liguo and the woman led the way, with Wong Lin in the middle. Behind him, the endless swarm of sword lights followed closely, with the crescent blade flashing and occasionally sweeping out a slash of sword light. This sword radiance was what Wong Lin truly feared. Every time it appeared, he had to quickly dodge. The crescent blade was extraordinarily strange, and as Wong Lin fled, his divine sense probed. He discovered that whenever the blade's speed exceeded a certain threshold, an odd force would manifest around it, slowing its momentum. Without this, it would have caught up to Wong Lin long ago. The 3 of them raced at full speed, and after about 3 incense sticks, the edge of the distant basin came into view. Wong Lin's eyes flashed, and he instantly teleported, disappearing from his spot. When he reappeared, he was already at the basin's edge, and without hesitation, he sped off into the distance. Zhou Wutai hesitated for a moment but then immediately pursued Wang Lin. As for the woman in the purple veil, her eyes flashed, she altered her direction, splitting from Zhou Wutai. The swords that had pursued him halted the moment they reached this place, all except for the crescent blade. Without the slightest pause, it shot past the basin's edge in a flash. Once it cleared the basin, its speed suddenly surged. The strange force that had enveloped it seemed to weaken, allowing it to accelerate to an unbelievable degree. In the blink of an eye, the crescent blade swept past Zhou Wutai without slowing, heading straight for Wang Lin. Cold sweat appeared on Zhou Wutai's forehead. He hadn't even sensed the blade's approach, only a violent gust of wind, and when he looked again, it was already a black dot vanishing at the edge of the sky. What kind of spiritual entity is this? That speed, at least dozens of times faster than before. Zhou Wutai was shaken to the core. After a brief hesitation, he took off in pursuit. Wong Lin had no choice but to slow down as he ran. After passing through the basin, more dimensional rifts began to appear. He stopped atop a mountain peak, pausing for a moment. Looking into the distance, he saw a faintly glowing mountain emitting rainbow light. Its shape matched exactly what Situ Nan had described, the Spirit Mountain. Just as Wong Lin paused, a thunderous roar echoed behind him. Prepared for this, he instantly teleported 1,000 zhang away. A deafening explosion rang out behind him as the peak he had just stood on collapsed, rubble flying. From within the debris, the crescent blade burst forth, glowing deep blue and spinning wildly. At the same time, a surge of divine sense emanated from the blade. Leave it behind. Wong Lin flashed away once more, but this time he felt a sharp pain in his left arm. When he reappeared 1,000 zhang away, the sleeve on his left arm had been shredded, and a gash ran across his arm. So fast, he exclaimed, not daring to pause. He teleported again, careful not to go too far. If he reappeared near a dimensional rift, he'd be in grave danger. Each time he vanished in a shimmer of blue light, the spot he had left behind would instantly collapse into rubble. The crescent blade pursued him relentlessly, like a mad beast that would never let go. Wong Lin appeared 100 li away, then quickly dodged to the side. A dimensional rift slowly opened beside him in the shape of a crescent moon. He had barely moved a few zhang when a flash of blue light streaked past the spot he had just left. A storm wind followed in its wake, obliterating everything in its path. Mountains, ground, even the dimensional rifts caught within were completely destroyed. Seeing this, Wong Lin's scalp tingled. Without a word, he teleported again, only to feel a sharp pain in his right leg. Blood gushed from the wound. Reappearing 10 li away, he immediately pressed his right hand to the injury. The wound closed and the bleeding stopped. What the hell kind of artifact is this? A glimmer of greed flickered in Wong Lin's eyes. He had only ever seen speed like this once before, in the 4th prime soul of the Billion Soul banner. Comparing the two, they were nearly equal in speed, but clearly, the crescent blade had far greater offensive power. A needle might not kill, but a sweep of this blade could easily take a head clean off. This artifact is composed of a single life soul. Who in the world is its master, to be able to create such a powerful metal element spirit? This thing is a treasure. Wong Lin teleported once more. Behind him, another explosion shattered the area. The crescent blade grew faster and faster, and Wong Lin was beginning to struggle to keep up. Each mistake brought injury. At last, he understood why the Vermilion Bird Patriarch had been so wary of the 4th prime soul back then. I must obtain it. His eyes flashed coldly. He drew out his immortal sword and with a flick, Xu Liguo was ejected from within. Xu Liguo, I need you to endure this for now. Just pretend it's the ancestor of the giant demon clan. Once I retrieve the life soul, I'll come back for you. With that, he waved his right hand, and Xu Liguo's body flew into the air. Xu Liguo let out a miserable wail and tried to flee, but the crescent blade flashed again, appearing beside him. It wrapped him up and vanished instantly. From far away, Xu Liguo's resentful scream echoed back. Master, don't forget to save me. Holding the immortal sword, Wong Lin's eyes gleamed. His mind was linked to Xu Liguo's, so he could sense his location. After some thought, he concluded that the blade's spirit inside the crescent blade didn't seem intent on harming Xu Liguo. It must have another motive. Besides, Xu Liguo was a demon head who thrived on devouring others. He wouldn't be destroyed so easily. Wong Lin had more pressing matters to attend to. He couldn't afford to tangle with the blade now. With Xu Liguo as a tether, he could track it down later and figure out how to claim the weapon. Putting the immortal sword away, Wong Lin looked toward the distant spirit mountain. He leapt into the air, But just then, his expression shifted. He turned his head toward a nearby peak. There, a crimson figure stood, one that radiated emptiness and loneliness. She stood there, crimson like a butterfly, as if her heart longed to drift away with the wind. It was helplessly tethered to the mortal world. Red Butterfly. Wong Lin's eyes were calm as he cupped his fists and said loudly, "Fellow Taoist Red Butterfly, it's been a long time." On a distant mountain peak, the red silhouette exuded an intense emptiness. She gazed deeply at Wong Lin, then in a flicker, descended from the mountain and appeared 100 zhang away from him in the blink of an eye. As she drew near, the emptiness and confusion in her eyes immediately came into view. Wong Lin's expression darkened. Though he had long known what had happened to Red Butterfly, and had even sensed her presence during his battle with Qianfeng on the edge of the Vermilion Bird Continent, today was the first time they had truly met again since their decisive battle. From Red Butterfly's eyes, all he could see was deathly stillness. She was still as beautiful as ever, but the once dazzling and arrogant prodigy of her time was gone. The Red Butterfly of the past, peerless genius of the Snow Domain Nation, gifted enough to reach the spirit transformation stage within a century, had looked down on Wong Lin like he was nothing more than an ant. Their entanglement had grown over time, ultimately leading to their fated confrontation. Even so, Wong Lin had always held a measure of respect for her, respect that one reserves for a worthy opponent. Now, to see such a former rival fall to this state, he couldn't help but sigh inwardly. The world remains the same, but the people are not. The saying rang all too true. Compared to the woman before him now, Wang Lin would have far preferred the proud and awe-inspiring Red Butterfly of the past. To face that Red Butterfly once more would have been a step toward his own summit. Letting out a quiet sigh, Wang Lin tucked away his emotions. His gaze sharpened as he looked toward Red Butterfly and said plainly, "Qianfeng, come out." Red Butterfly stood motionless, raising her eyes to the sky, the void still lingering in her gaze. "Xun'er, I don't have time to tangle with you today. Since you found this place, we'll meet again atop Spirit Mountain." Qianfeng's voice echoed from the surrounding void. Wang Lin whipped around, staring into the distant mountain range. There, a black figure burst forth like a raging wind. After briefly appearing, it shot off toward the central peak, Spirit Mountain. A cold glint flashed in Wang Lin's eyes. He let out a snort and flickered, preparing to pursue. "Red Butterfly, didn't you want another battle with Xun'er back then? Today, I'll give you that chance, kill him." Qianfeng's arrogant laughter rang out from afar, his figure vanishing in a flash. "Xun'er, since you two old friends are reunited, why not catch up first? Once I retrieve the life soul, I'll come clean you up." The void in Red Butterfly's eyes suddenly vanished, replaced by intense battle intent. She flickered, appearing in front of Wong Lin without a word. With a pat of her storage pouch, a crimson sword materialized in her hand. At the same time, an overwhelming aura erupted from her body. It was no weaker than Wong Lin's, and even had immortal power faintly swirling around her. Though she had yet to reach the infant metamorphosis stage, she was clearly not far off. "Xun'er," came a cold voice from Red Butterfly's lips as she locked eyes with Wong Lin. His brow furrowed slightly as he looked at her. He wasn't in a rush to chase Qianfeng. He had never expected Spirit Mountain to appear here in the first place. If this was truly where the star cultivation crystal lay, Spirit Mountain's presence made no sense. And yet, there it was. Something was off. If Qianfeng wanted to scout ahead, so be it. Red Butterfly's eyes gleamed. With a swift motion, she slashed forward with her crimson sword. The weapon left her hand, transforming into a crimson bolt of lightning that shot through the air, streaking toward Wong Lin's brow with terrifying speed. Wong Lin stepped back, brushing his storage pouch. The forbidden banner appeared in his hand. With a flick, countless restriction seals surged out, forming layers of defensive formations in front of him. The crimson lightning slammed into the barriers with a deafening crash that echoed for miles. Dust and sand exploded into the sky, blanketing the landscape. Amid the storm, a flash of crimson light revealed Red Butterfly's silhouette darting forward. At some point, she had pulled out a red ice crystal that emitted a chilling aura, instantly freezing the air around her. As she neared, the battle light in her eyes suddenly flickered. A deep sorrow surfaced within them. Her lips trembled as she rushed forward. "Kill me." A faint voice escaped her lips. But it vanished in an instant, replaced once more by overwhelming battle intent. Her momentum surged like a rainbow streak across the sky, charging straight at Wong Lin. His heart trembled. He had heard her voice. His gaze toward her grew conflicted. Red Butterfly had not completely lost her mind. A tiny, deeply buried trace of her true self still remained. The crimson butterfly was proud. Her pride was passed down from her bones, from her soul. Her entire life was a proud rose in full bloom. She hid a thread of consciousness deep within, preferring death to enduring such a miserable existence. Wong Lin took a deep breath. Facing the crimson butterfly, who was flying toward him like a rainbow streak, he extended his right hand. A swift grasp in the air, and instantly, streams of restriction chi roared out from the soul banner, radiating with restriction light and converging in his hand. A massive black spear, nearly 30 feet long, materialized, exuding dark energy as it formed in his grip. With the spear in one hand, Wong Lin's gaze turned sharp as a flash of electricity. He moved his body, becoming a blur, and thrust the spear forward. With that thrust, a howling sound echoed, as though the wails of ghosts and wolves were emanating from the spear's tip, its roar carrying for miles. Suddenly, the block of ice in the crimson butterfly's hand pressed against her brow. A red glow flickered from her forehead, and layers of thin red ice spread at a visible speed, rapidly enveloping her entire body, forming into a suit of red armor. This armor, glowing red and emitting a freezing aura, illuminated her stunningly beautiful face. At this moment, she looked like a war goddess from the immortal realms. As the red glow flickered across her armor, a black whip materialized in her hand. The Kungji whip. This whip was given to her by Qian Feng, a tool for her to fight against Wang Lin. An odd glint flashed in the crimson butterfly's eyes. She flicked the whip with her right hand, and loud cracking sounds rang out from where it passed. Then, the whip seemed to come alive, roaring like a dragon. Following her movement, it shot toward Wang Lin like a lightning bolt. Wang Lin's eyes flickered. As his body moved, he thrust the spear while retreating. He formed a hand seal with both hands and whispered a chant. Immediately, a strange wind filled with immortal power appeared, howling as it chased the spear forward. The Kungji whip and the spear collided with a tremendous impact. Boom! The crash was as thunderous as the collapse of heaven and earth. The violent shockwave spread outward, but Wang Lin stood like a mountain, unmoving. The sand and wind surged toward him like a furious wave, but as they reached him, they were caught up by the howling wind, returning with even greater force, rushing back toward the crimson butterfly. The scene unfolded in an instant. The Kungji whip flew out of the crimson butterfly's hand, transforming into a streak of black lightning. With a sharp crack, it tore through the returning wind and shot toward Wang Lin. With a snap, Wang Lin swiftly retreated, his body backing away 100 feet. His eyes flashed with strange light as he murmured, "Kungji whip." He had once possessed this whip, but had to give it up. Seeing it now, he was determined to reclaim it. Meanwhile, the crimson butterfly, caught in the swirling wind, was involuntarily pushed back. Her red armor exuded waves of extreme cold, and these icy breaths spread forward violently. A series of eerie cracking sounds echoed, and strange ice sculptures, sharp as daggers, materialized in midair, freezing the wind and air into solid forms. Wang Lin's gaze narrowed as he watched the red armor. The crimson butterfly raised her right hand and touched the ice sculptures in front of her. With a series of cracking sounds, the outer layers of the sculptures began to crack and splinter, with cracks rapidly spreading until every part of the sculptures was shattered. The ice shattered into pieces, falling to the ground with a loud crash. "Kill me." The crimson butterfly's eyes were filled with a struggle, her face contorted in agony. At this moment, the Kungji whip, like a dragon, circled around her, while her red armor shimmered with cold light. Wang Lin watched her silently, nodding to himself. His right hand touched his storage pouch, and a massive battle axe appeared in his grasp. As the battle axe materialized, the sky darkened, and all the light seemed to converge onto the weapon. Purple lightning crackled across the battle axe, coursing through Wang Lin's arm and spreading throughout his body. The air filled with crackling sounds. In that moment, an unprecedented battle intent condensed within Wang Lin's heart. This battle axe was summoned by the ancestor of the giant demon clan shortly before his death. It was the weapon of the ancestor of the giant demon clan from Zhao Nation's Corpsine sect. Wang Lin had planned to use it for his own body, but now, with the immortal sword's soul lost and the soul banner not being his weapon of choice, this battle axe was the only suitable weapon left. The crimson butterfly looked at Wang Lin, her lips parting slightly. A red glow flew from her mouth, immediately growing in the wind to form a crystal-clear red rose, floating before her. The rose bloomed instantly. As it opened, a red smoke drifted from its core, vaguely revealing the figure of the crimson butterfly. The figure before him bore a strong air of arrogance, with brows and eyes that reminded Wang Lin of the crimson butterfly he once knew. It was identical in every way. Zheng, make your move. The crimson butterfly's phantom, formed within the smoke, looked at Wong Lin with pride in her eyes. The moment the crescent blade had sped past earlier, it had left him startled. The speed was something he had never witnessed in his life. Just as he was flying, Zhou Wutai suddenly furrowed his brow and halted in midair. He turned and looked behind him. In the distance, a red glow was racing toward him, and the entire sky was engulfed in a swirling, rolling crimson mist. Even the rifts in the sky were swiftly dissipating under the pressure of the red cloud. Zhou Wutai sighed inwardly and immediately grew respectful. He stood still, not moving. The red cloud roared like an ancient beast as it passed overhead. A hoarse voice echoed from within it. Inner. Zhou Wutai quickly acknowledged and moved. He transformed into a rainbow streak, flying into the heart of the red cloud. Inside the cloud stood an aged elder wearing red robes. His hands were clasped behind his back, and his eyes, sharp as lightning, gazed into the distance. Though his body remained still, the red cloud beneath him surged forward, speeding toward their destination. Zhou Wutai stood beside him, his posture respectful. Zhou Wutai, paying respects to senior. The elder gave a slight nod, his gaze sweeping the distance as if it could pierce the miles and settle on the site where Wong Lin was fighting the crimson butterfly. After a brief pause, he spoke flatly. Where is Xin? Zhou Wutai responded in a deep voice. I encountered Wong Lin on the way with Xin, and then she left on her own. The elder sighed lightly, then said, forget her. Come with me to the Spirit Mountain. With that, the red cloud beneath him accelerated, racing towards Spirit Mountain. This elder was none other than Quezi. The Immortal Remnant clan had used the runes from the head of the Void Ancestor, relying on their cultivation at the 12-leaf stage, to temporarily break the restrictions of the Vermilion Bird Tomb and send Quezi inside. However, if the Void Ancestor were still alive, his cultivation might have allowed him to break the seal of the Star Cultivation Crystal completely. The Immortal Remnant clan, relying on the power of the runes within the skull, could not achieve perfection. Though they succeeded in sending Quezi, they were constrained by time. If too much time passed, the power of the runes would dissipate, and Quezi would be eradicated by the mysterious forces within the Star Cultivation Crystal. Therefore, as soon as he entered, Quezi wasted no time and immediately accelerated, heading straight for the center of the Spirit Mountain. At this moment, Qianfeng was also heading towards Spirit Mountain, and Quezi was in flight as well. Apart from the two of them, others had also begun to arrive, all racing toward the innermost part of the Vermilion Bird Tomb. Among them were members of the Immortal Remnant clan and cultivators. Meanwhile, atop the Spirit Mountain, an elder had already arrived. He looked ordinary in appearance, but his eyes glowed with a deep, blood-red light. On his shoulders sat a tiny monkey whose eyes also gleamed with a fierce red glow. The elder stood at the top of Spirit Mountain. In the void before him, a massive gate stood. The gate was surrounded by a brilliant golden light, and a crack appeared on it, resembling a scar that was impossible to ignore. The elder gazed at the gate, his eyes glowing brighter with bloodlust. A sinister smile tugged at his lips as he sat cross-legged on the ground, meditating. The monkey on his shoulder, meanwhile, looked around wildly, its eyes full of malice. Back to Wong Lin and the crimson butterfly. The crystal rose before the crimson butterfly exuded a delicate, radiant beauty. The phantom of the crimson butterfly that appeared within the petals was a fragment of her deeply hidden consciousness. This was the true crimson butterfly. She looked at Wong Lin, her eyes full of pride as she softly said, Zheng, make your move. Kill me. A life without consciousness is of no use. I, the crimson butterfly, would rather die than seek survival. Wong Lin looked at the crimson butterfly, and memories of their past flashed in his mind. Once a proud daughter of the heavens, now reduced to this tragic end, Wong Lin sighed softly. What he saw in the crimson butterfly's phantom was not arrogance, but a deep sorrow, a sorrow that had been buried for so long. It was a sorrow of the heart. This sorrow carried intense pain, and it made anyone who saw it tremble inside. Crimson butterfly, I will fulfill your wish. Wong Lin's gaze sharpened. With a swing of his battle axe, he suddenly leapt into the air, roaring. His battle axe left his hand, turning into a lightning-fast comet, streaking toward the crimson butterfly with a deafening crash. The strike was imbued with a powerful aura. As it cut through the air, the void seemed to tremble, on the verge of collapsing. As it descended toward the ground, cracks began to form across the earth, and winds and sand flew in all directions, causing the ground to shatter. The crimson butterfly raised her head to look at the giant axe. The fragment of her consciousness within the rose transformed into azure smoke and drilled into her brow center. At that moment, the crimson butterfly's eyes no longer held the intent to fight, no longer held emptiness. What remained was clarity, pride, sorrow, and hatred. The corners of Crimson Butterfly's mouth slowly revealed a faint smile, a smile so joyful that it was rarely seen on her face. In this moment, she resembled an innocent young girl, letting go of all the mental attachments. A tremendous battle intent roared down from the sky, emanating from the descending axe, as if an invisible giant wielding a massive axe was descending from the heavens, slashing down furiously. Though the smile on Crimson Butterfly's face was beautiful, there was still a deep, lingering pride in it, a pride that was her essence. Her life was one spent in pride. Even as death approached, she remained proud, her pride soaring to the heavens, as radiant as a butterfly's red wings. The battle axe swung through the air, creating a violent wind that rushed out from around the axe, racing to either side and echoing with booming sounds, resounding throughout the world. In her short life of less than 200 years, Crimson Butterfly's life was like that of a butterfly, brief but unforgettable. Her beauty, her pride, were things that no one who had ever come into contact with her could ever forget. Though her pride made many dislike her, and her coldness kept people from truly getting close, she was Crimson Butterfly, proud and fierce. As the battle axe neared, less than 10 zhang away, a terrifying aura of destruction radiated from the axe. At this moment, if Crimson Butterfly wished to resist, she had the ability to do so. If she wished to dodge, she had the strength to break away, but she neither resisted nor dodged. Her eyes grew brighter, and the pride within them swelled even further. Yet, within that pride, there was a hint of regret, a regret so deeply hidden that only Wang Lin saw it. In Crimson Butterfly's eyes, she seemed to see her master, the master's image, voice, and teachings from her childhood. The warmth and sternness of her youth, all the memories flooding back in front of her. But alongside her master, another figure appeared in her mind, a frail young man whose gaze was always gentle, silently watching her. Seeing this figure, Crimson Butterfly's lips curved into a faint smile. The image continued flashing in her eyes, finally settling on the face of a young man. His love for her was so intense, as he had stolen the Kungji whip, willing to sacrifice anything for her. Goodbye. Crimson Butterfly's smile slowly froze. The battle axe descended. The rose before her immediately radiated a blinding red light, petals falling one by one, swirling around, and finally drifting into the void. Crimson Butterfly's lips bled slightly, her eyes dimming, but the pride between her brows remained unchanged. When the flowers bloom next year, roses will cover the vermilion bird star, and a blue rose will bloom in the northernmost plain. Wong Lin, that will be my gift to you. The rose, stripped of its petals, left only the core. In the moment the battle axe descended, it shattered into ash, dissipating into the air. A red mark appeared at the center of Crimson Butterfly's brow, blood seeping out, a shocking sight. Crimson Butterfly, your life has one tribulation. This tribulation is a line between life and death. If you survive it, your life will be smooth. If you fail, you will die in regret. Your master, with all his life's effort, has foreseen this. Be careful. Crimson Butterfly, this tribulation, I fear, is linked to Xun'er. Xun'er must not be left alive. Crimson Butterfly's eyes filled with blood, and the world before her turned to a crimson mist. Master, you calculated Crimson Butterfly's tribulation, but unfortunately you could only foresee the one destined to face doom, not the one who gave her this tribulation, Qianfeng. The battle axe howled as it pierced through Crimson Butterfly's body, crashing into the earth with a thunderous impact. A deep pit formed on the ground, black smoke rising and spreading out. The armor on her body cracked, fissures spreading across it, finally covering every corner. She closed her eyes, and with a violent burst, her body transformed into a cloud of blood mist. A gentle breeze blew, and the blood mist slowly dissipated into tiny crimson crystals, scattering through the air, filling the world. The once proud and beautiful Crimson Butterfly had perished. Wang Lin, help me. Kill Qianfeng. Please. Wang Lin, suspended in midair, remained silent. He looked up at the sky, faintly hearing the divine thought from Crimson Butterfly's soul as she departed. As red as a butterfly. Though brief, her memory lingered in his heart, unforgettable for a lifetime. Crimson Butterfly was gone, leaving behind only a jade slip and the Kungji whip, floating quietly in midair, emanating a sense of loneliness. Qianfeng's realm is one of endless desire. He devours everything, seeking to possess everything. But how could a realm ever be devoured? What Qianfeng seeks is not the realm itself, but the moment of insight that comes from experiencing that realm, the fleeting connection with the heavenly Tao. Through devouring the realms, he gains different insights, slowly refining his own, ultimately perfecting it. Wang Lin held the jade slip. On it was a record of Hong Dai's observations and insights on Qianfeng over the years. Then, with a thought, he reached out across the air. Instantly, the Kungji whip in midair flashed and was caught in his hand. After a brief inspection, he placed it into his storage pouch. There was a divine sense from the ascendant stage imprinted on the Kungji whip, one Wang Lin couldn't break for now. But as long as the whip remained in his possession, he was confident that once he finished handling other matters, he could use the billion soul banner to condense the ascendant soul and shatter the divine sense, fully claiming the Kungji whip as his own. Having done all this, Wang Lin glanced once more at where Hong Dai had vanished. Shaking his head slightly, he stomped his foot, his body dissolving into fine mist and vanishing from the spot, heading toward the distant Spirit Mountain. At that very moment, above Spirit Mountain, a crimson cloud carrying Quezi howled past and arrived directly at the mountain peak. There, the crimson cloud transformed into a howling red hurricane that plummeted from midair. At the summit, Quezi stepped out from the storm. Behind him, Zhou Wutai followed respectfully. With a single glance, Quezi spotted the elder seated cross-legged atop the peak, a tiny monkey perched on his shoulder. His brows furrowed, as sharp as lightning. After a closer look, Quezi's expression shifted slightly. Which fellow cultivator has seized this body? Why not show your true form? Quezi stared at the elder and spoke in a deep voice. The elder opened his eyes and gave Quezi a cursory glance. With a mocking tone, he said, "You and I are strangers. Even if I show my true form, would you really recognize me as Mo Lihai?" The monkey on his shoulder bared its teeth at Quezi, red light flashing in its eyes. Quezi remained calm, his gaze intense as lightning, staring at the monkey. After a moment, he gave a faint smile and said, "So it's just a puppet." A red gleam flashed through the elder's eyes as he stared at Quezi. But just then, the monkey on his shoulder let out a sharp squeak. The red light in the elder's eyes instantly faded, and in a deep tone, he said, "I am Mo Lihai." With those words, a trace of hostility flickered in his eyes before he shut them again and resumed meditating. Though he appears to be at the late infant metamorphosis stage, there's something unusual about him, something that only those at the ascendant stage can perceive. He's definitely not from Vermilion Bird Star. Quezi took one last glance at the elder before turning his gaze to the massive gate suspended in the void, falling silent. From his knowledge of the Vermilion Bird Tomb, this entire journey had felt off. The tomb described by the previous Vermilion Bird Patriarch was nothing like this one. Those spiritual entities formed from life souls had clearly been condensed using the strange power of the star cultivation crystal. Quezi vividly remembered the previous Patriarch mentioning that such beings only appeared inside the crystal itself. Yet the Spirit Mountain here was unmistakably real. The gate atop it was the sole passage into the first-generation Vermilion Bird Tomb, where the star cultivation crystal was kept. But this gate couldn't be opened without the star cultivation core. Entry was only possible once it had cracked sufficiently. As Quezi observed, his expression suddenly changed. He casually glanced down the mountain and then looked away. Moments later, Qianfeng appeared at the foot of Spirit Mountain. Upon arrival, his face immediately showed caution. He cast a wary glance at Quezi, then, after a brief pause, found a clear spot at the edge and sat down cross-legged. Not long after, several others arrived. Among them were 2 8-leaf spell masters of the Immortal Remnant clan. When they reached the summit and saw Quezi, their faces lit up with joy. They hurried over and stood respectfully at his side. One more cultivator came, this one wearing a green robe and a menacing mask that shimmered with green light, blocking divine sense. After reaching the peak, he scanned the surroundings and then silently sat down by himself. An hour later, 3 rainbow streaks tore through the sky toward the mountain. But just as they neared, Spirit Mountain suddenly quaked. The massive gate trembled violently, emitting a low hum. Cracks across its surface spread rapidly with loud rumbling. It wasn't just Spirit Mountain. The entire Vermilion Bird Tomb shook. As before, huge swaths of land collapsed into nothingness. Dimensional rifts split open everywhere across the world. Even the sky was falling apart. The 3 incoming rainbow streaks were no exception. None made it to Spirit Mountain. All were caught in the collapse and fell into rifts, dying tragic deaths. This tremor lasted far longer than the first, 30 breaths in all. But that half-minute was enough to reduce the entire outer region of the Vermilion Bird tomb into void, riddled with countless dimensional rifts. At Vermilion Bird Mountain, there were still cultivators and powerful individuals attempting to enter the tomb, but each time someone entered, they were immediately swallowed by the dimensional rift without exception. Gradually, the number of people entering increased, yet the passage to the Vermilion Bird tomb seemed to have no restrictions, and they could still enter. Slowly, some cultivators began to realize something was wrong. In the end, the situation became so strange that no one dared to step into the passage anymore. In their eyes, the passage seemed to have turned into a ferocious beast that devoured cultivators. Once someone entered, there was no escape. Inside the Vermilion Bird tomb, atop the Spirit Mountain, with the second collapse of the star cultivation crystal, the massive door began to develop more and more cracks. Some of these cracks even connected with one another. After the tremor, Quezi's gaze flickered. He stared at the huge door, raised his right hand, and released a wave of immortal power, transforming it into a giant handprint that suddenly shot forward and struck the door. With one strike, the door trembled, but the cracks did not increase. Instead, the handprint mysteriously vanished inside the door. Quezi furrowed his brow slightly, clasped his hands behind his back, and waited in silence for the next collapse. However, his gaze occasionally swept down the mountain, as if he was waiting for something. At this moment, a purple figure walked up from below Spirit Mountain. It was a woman, wearing a purple veil on her face. She was not alone. Surrounding her were 4 elderly men with symbols flashing on their foreheads. Each of these elders had reached the late stage of spirit transformation, and their bodies bore numerous scars. The woman was Xun'er. She and Zhou Wutai were able to make it this far because they each possessed several talisman puppets. These talisman puppets, given by Quezi, ensured their safety. Upon seeing Xun'er, Quezi gave a slight nod, signaling her to come over. Xun'er took a deep breath, casually glanced at Qianfeng in a nearby corner, her eyes filled with hatred, and walked toward Quezi. The moment Xun'er appeared, Qianfeng's eyes locked on her. His face darkened, and a murderous intent surged in his eyes. As he gazed at Xun'er, there was a brief flash of painful struggle in his eyes. "Vile woman, Xun'er," Qianfeng said through gritted teeth. Xun'er looked at him without speaking, but the hatred in her eyes was nearly overwhelming. Qianfeng's breath became heavy as he briefly scanned Quezi with his eyes. Taking a deep breath, he suppressed his emotions, casting a cold glance at Xun'er before slowly closing his eyes with a mocking smile. At that moment, another figure leapt from below Spirit Mountain and landed atop the mountain. Upon seeing this person, most of those on the mountaintop immediately turned their attention towards him. Qianfeng suddenly opened his eyes, a sharp glint flashing in them. Xun'er immediately lowered her head and took a few steps back, standing behind Quezi. Quezi's eyes shone with brilliance, and a faint smile appeared on his lips, one that seemed to hold a deeper meaning. Zhou Wutai sighed inwardly. He had originally been pursuing Wang Lin, intending to tell him something. However, he had not expected to encounter Quezi, who had brought him to this place for reasons unknown. The person who had arrived at the mountaintop was none other than Wong Lin. The elderly man carrying the tiny monkey narrowed his eyes upon seeing Wong Lin. A strange expression flickered in his eyes, and he gave a chilling smile while staring at Wong Lin. Especially the tiny monkey on his shoulder, which looked at Wong Lin with an unmistakable murderous gleam. The masked one also glanced at Wong Lin, his eyes filled with a hint of confusion, but it quickly cleared, and he nodded at Wong Lin without speaking. At this moment, Wong Lin looked extremely disheveled. His clothes were torn in several places. Earlier, when he had ascended the mountain, he was caught in the second collapse of the Vermilion Bird tomb. Under the vast dimensional rift, he had nearly perished. In the end, he had dug a hole in Spirit Mountain and hidden inside to survive the collapse. Only after it had subsided did he dare to emerge, narrowly escaping death. Had he been in midair at that moment, he would surely have been dead by now. Brother Wang. Xingyo. Wang Lin. 3 different voices called out from the mountaintop. The one who called him Brother Wang was, of course, Zhou Wutai. The one who shouted Xingyo was Qianfeng. The last voice, rough and hoarse, came from Quezi. Wang Lin's expression remained unchanged as his gaze swept over the crowd, finally landing on Quezi. This was the first time he had seen Quezi since their last parting. The disheveled figure from the past was now gone. Quezi seemed to have taken on the appearance of the Vermilion Bird Patriarch. Wong Lin stared at Quezi, and Quezi returned his gaze. Both remained silent. After a long pause, Wang Lin forced a bitter smile, cupping his fists, and said, "Junior pays respects to senior." Quezi sighed softly, shaking his head, and said, "So, you've come here too." Wang Lin slapped his storage pouch with his right hand, and streams of black light flew out from within. With a wave of his hand, these dark rays immediately shot toward Quezi. They stopped beside him, transforming into wooden carvings.